We're recording. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Arundel Town Council full council meeting for Tuesday the 18th of July. And first item on the agenda is apologies for absence.
I've had apologies from Councillor Chappell.
Councillor Chappell.
Away on holiday.
On holiday. Do we accept the apology for absence?
Certainly.
Chapel, yeah? Yep.
This time
In
of the
favour?
year.
Yes,
Thank you.
definitely.
We've two other councillors absent, but we've not received apologies. 1742, Declaration of Interests. To receive and consider any declarations of interest from members and officers under Section 50 of the Local Government Act 2000, Standing Order 35. This requirement applies only in respect of matters which are to be considered by the Council at this meeting. So 1742-01, to declare any disclosable pecuniary interests. Anybody? No?
No.
Nobody? 1742-02, to declare any other interests. No. 1742-03, to consider any requests for dispensation. No. 42-04, to report any gifts or hospitality accepted over the value of £50. No. And 42-05, to report any inappropriate gifts or hospitality offered. No. So that's the declarations of interest. 1743 is minutes of previous meetings for full council. 1743-01, proposition to approve and sign the minutes of the full council meeting held on 20th of June 2017 as an accurate record, Standing Order 10C. If you could have a look at the minutes for 20th of June. Council. We'll have a chance to look. We've got a proposal from Council Appeal that they be accepted. Do I have a seconder?
I wasn't here.
We weren't here, so
I was.
Councillor Chesser is seconding. Of those who were here, those in favour? 1743-02, the proposition to approve and sign the minutes of the extraordinary meeting held on the 4th of July 2017 as an accurate record, Standing Order 10C. You can have a look at those. That again is one of the meetings specific to neighbourhood plan.
I was here. I'll propose them.
Proposed Councillor S. Oakes. Seconded Councillor Glenn. Those in favour? Thank you. Public participation from interested parties or members of the public for a maximum of 15 minutes. Have you heard anything from anybody? And there's no public in, so we can take it that there's nobody got anything they want to participate in. Consideration of requests from interested parties, we have none of those. And 1746 reports. We're not going to have tonight a police report or a district councillor's report. They've both said that they have nothing really to add at the moment. Mayor's report. You've got this in your pack. I've attended a number of functions on your behalf, as you can see, a number of meetings. 6th of July is one of the more notable ones, where the clerk and I attended the NCALP Larger Councils group meeting, which the main topic there was to talk about unitary authorities, doing away with district and county councils and going over to one council in their place, so that the split of services ends and they all go to one. That might mean that there will be some services devolved down to parish level. Some of what they were considering we already do in terms of grounds maintenance and things like that, but it might mean we get some extra things, and it might mean, amongst the things that were talked about that we don't do currently, is repairing potholes in town and sweeping the streets. They may be services that are devolved to us in the future. And we may be asked, along with our local parishes round and about, to share services with them, so that perhaps we do ground maintenance for them with a larger ground maintenance team. That might be something. Councillor Oakes.
Does finance follow with that?
I brought that particular subject up at the meeting, and obviously nobody knows that at the moment, but I pointed out that we can't have precept capping at the same time as we take on extra services. They can't squash us.
Absolutely.
To go on with it, we've spoken to Heather Smith tonight, who's been here for an earlier meeting. She was speaking at that larger council's meeting along with Danny Moody, and talking about how she saw the combination of district and county. And we have tonight suggested that it might be nice if she came along, perhaps in September or October, to our full town council meeting and talk to town council about her views on unitary authorities and how it might affect us. So if you're all in favour of that, that's something that the clerk will follow up on. We've another meeting with Heather on Friday. We'll proceed with that one on Friday.
Does that need a formal proposition, Mayor?
I don't think it needs a formal proposition, does it?
No.
Okay,
It's
sorry, I'm just checking.
okay. It's a case of we will put it on the agenda.
Right.
I've met with the police, mainly to do with Armistice Day. The big problem there is going to be that the police are terribly stretched at the moment. They are unable to help with either of the two services. On the Saturday, which is the 11th, at 11 o'clock, we have the official 2-minute silence on the proper day, the 11th day of the 11th month, and they don't think they can help with that, but they are offering us some barriers and some road cones and police signs to say road closed, so that we can temporarily close the road. But it looks like we're going to have to man that one ourselves. So I'll be looking for volunteers to wear high-vis jackets. I usually do it, but I'm going to be at the War Memorial with the chain on when the British Legion take the salute and the 2-minute silence. So I'm looking for volunteers to help with road closures approaching the War Memorial for about 10 or 15 minutes on that day. The other thing is, on the following day, the Sunday, the actual armistice service, once again the police don't know if they'll be able to do anything there to help us. Again, they're offering barriers, road cones, police signs and the like, but they don't know with their current manning whether they'll be able to come. And they're even wondering, and I think this is something that we'll take up with them, we'll perhaps write to them formally. They're even concerned that at the moment they have nobody scheduled to come and lay the wreath on the War Memorial on behalf of the police. Something that's gone on since the First World War. I think we need to approach the Chief Constable or the Police and Crime Commissioner and request that somebody comes.
I'm wondering if we might just approach Mick Jellis, who's the special.
Yes.
He always turns up for that.
Yes, well he
is a policeman, I mean he's
Yes.
a special,
Yes.
he was a trained policeman.
Yes,
That might be the most likely person.
that might well be a solution to it, but I think perhaps we should
He
write
always
and
comes.
ask what support we can get from the police.
Sure.
Councillor Peel.
Yeah, going on to the police thing, I don't mind sort of volunteering for 11 I can do that. I used to leave the work for about 15-20 minutes. But surely, because of the severe threat in this country that we have now of terrorism, the police should actually be at any major gatherings
Armed to the teeth.
well, not armed, but to search bags and things like that. I mean, we're not going to be allowed to do that, are we?
No. Their view
Should we
is-
therefore point out to the police that, you know, they should be there in some sort of presence, or some authorised person be there to allow people to search for bags and things. I'm not trying to be, you know, horrible, but I mean, it is a gathering. I know Oundle is possibly not the most sought after terrorist plot in the world, but it will be an easy target. And what better place to sort of blow up than a mid-England town? I know it sounds horrible.
Yes.
You know, I don't want to do that, but you know, surely we should have a
That's true.
Unfortunately, they see us as a very low risk. Councillor Oakes,
Yeah, there was a threat in Stamford a few weeks ago.
right?
It's not a million miles away.
Exactly. So I think really we should go back to the police and say, look, you know, we don't want to be awkward, but surely there should be some sort of either authorised personnel that can actually search a bag for the gathering,
Yes.
because it's the bags we have to look at, or a police presence.
It's not as if they didn't know it was going to happen, is it?
No.
So it's
They've
no
known for a
surprise
year.
that they've had
But,
70 years notice.
Best.
but with respect, I think the only answer you'll get, and I'm not saying don't task them with answering, the only answer you'll get is that they've got limited resources and they've got far more significant targets to police than Audi.
So I totally agree
They
with
just
what
have
you're
the
saying.
personnel to cover everything, do they? So by all means ask the question, I just think we all know what the answer you'll get is.
Yeah, no, I agree entirely with what you're saying, but I just think we ought to make the point.
That is the answer they've already officially
You
given.
know.
But
Because
the
if
thing is,
something did happen,
we are in the afternoon. Most of the other armistice services are in the Sunday morning.
yeah.
So we're in the afternoon when their resources should be less stretched. It means that some of them will have to do two duties that day, probably in Corby in the morning for the Sunday morning service there, and then over here for the afternoon service at our War Memorial. But I think that's the question we need to ask the Police and Crime Commissioner or the Chief Constable.
I just say, I'm not trying to sort of say we're going to have a problem, but that's what I'm saying is that, you know, we ought to ask. And the other thing is, if we don't ask and something did happen, then at least, you know, the council can turn around to say, look, we did ask for these covers. If anything happens, you know, at least we have, if you like, done our duty in that respect.
Well, we have. You've discussed it.
But I mean, I think a formal letter, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Cough. The other thing is just the sheer practicality of making sure they're on vans parked up and down, because we had that one year. So if the police can do nothing else, they could come along and stick their "don't park here"
Before the
before the event, if you don't mind.
We had it last year with a couple of vehicles, and they wanted to move once the parade had arrived, and they couldn't. They had to wait till the parade had gone. They then revved their engines while the salute was taking place, while the band was passing by the Great
It
Hall
was,
for the...
it was an absolute shocker. But the point is, I'm trying to make, is the police have got certainly a duty that you've mentioned, but also they're the only people who can tell people you can't park here. So you stick you know, you can't park here the day before.
they probably
And you know, because we did have, I say we had one year which was horrendous. I don't know what else to say really. I mean, look, we all wanted to go well,
Yes.
and that's it. We're just trying to do our best to make sure everything's in place.
The point is, it looks as though we, through volunteers, might have to do more this year to help ourselves with this, because it looks like the police are not going to be able to help.
But the trouble is, though, you see, is we're part of the blooming service. So
It's
I
difficult,
can't
isn't it?
really think I'm going to be standing up the north, you know, the top end of Blackpot Lane and telling people they can't come down, and then all of a sudden scooting down so that I can actually be part of what's going on.
The town expect us to walk into church behind the cross
Yep,
and take our seats in the front row
correct.
for that service. and it was commented on that we had a low turnout last
It
year of
was.
councillors. So yes, we've got that side of it as well.
My
So,
dear wife actually bulked out the buff.
Well, David,
yes,
David Councillor Chapel told me to.
yes.
Well, I'm quite happy to stand at the top of Black Pot Lane.
Yeah, but I know, but the point I'm trying to make is that, you know, that there is a way in which this thing has been done for years. And the fact is, you know, you attend at the War Memorial, which now looks spectacular compared to what it looks like.
Yes.
And I'd be very, very proud. And I'm always very proud. It's a very proud day for me as a
Yes.
councillor. It's possibly the proudest day of my year. And then to go to St Peter's, sorry, I'm going to be emotional now.
Yeah.
But
Well,
then to go and do that, but I'm not going to stand at the top of Black Pot Lane. I'm going to go down to the Talbot, and I'm going to actually, you know, attend the service.
yes, but what we'll have to do then is call on volunteers. We've got
Absolutely.
quite a lot of people in this town who volunteer. We must, between us, make sure that well before November the 11th and 12th, we've got people organised to do this.
Will volunteer action help us in this, do you think? Is that a possibility that we could actually approach them?
Well,
I was going to suggest retired Councillor Don Campbell, ex-policeman. I'll ask him.
Camilla's got quite a long list of volunteers who help
I'm
with
sure
things, so
she has.
I think we
Anyway,
must talk to
put it
Camilla
in
and
the
one or two other people. Anyway, we ought to move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're the main points in the Mayor's report. The rest of it is there for you to read.
Yeah.
But if I can now move on to the signing and sealing, the resolution that any two councillors and the proper officer may seal any document required by law to be issued under seal on behalf of the council, Standing Order 14B. Do I have a
Well, yes.
proposer and a seconder?
Well,
All in favour?
I think that's a full house. It should be.
We move on to Town Matters 1748 to consider a request from the co-chair of the PFA at Prince William School for the council to write a letter of support to be included with their application for funding. I'll hand you over to the clerk. This is in your pack, but I'll hand over to the
Yeah,
clerk.
they're
to-
applying for money from Awards for All, and they've been told that if they have a letter of support from the town council, it'll add just a bit of weight to their application. They're applying for funding to run a bus service from the school to the villages after school, so that any children that don't live in Oundle have got transport back to wherever they live. They're also, the bulk of the money is going on a screening service, CRY, which is cardiac risk in young people. This is following the death of the child at Thrapston, and it means that they can have all of the children screened at school. And then the other amount of money is to support a community fun day that they want to have next summer.
Well, I'll propose it.
I'll say
Yeah.
We have a
I'm happy with
proposer,
that.
Councillor N. Oakes, seconder, Councillor Peel. All those in favour?
Definitely.
The clerk will send an
Nothing else
appropriate...
is to rally the parents.
Yes. Yes. Move on to 1749 Council Matters, 1749-01 to receive the clerk's monthly report.
I just put a list of the things from last month which have been completed. Again, attended the larger council's meeting with Councillor Sparks, and we also went to a meeting at Oundle School where the Deputy Mayor and Mayor came along. And what else have we got? Yeah, during that meeting we briefly discussed Lettonfield. We also talked about the zebra crossing on Milton Road, as to whether there's a possibility to have it moved. I have contacted Sarah Barnwell again over this, and she's going to come out and meet me on the 1st of August just to see if there's anything that can be done. But she did say with the amount of money that it would cost to move it, not sure if they've got it in the budget, but she's going to at least have a look. There was a brief discussion about the neighbourhood plan, and then they also mentioned about the football club's new lease. They're negotiating with the football club over a new lease. A couple of incidents, we had a report of rats, which we then found out was to do with Andrew School, so they said that they would deal with it. Residents in New Road complaining about the youth's antisocial behaviour in recreation ground. We are now trying to advise people when they ring us, it's better at the time to ring 101 rather than the next day or the day after ring us. So that's what we're trying to do. And we've had some complaints about overgrown shrubs and trees. And a resident complained about smelly fish.
That's always been a bit
You
slow.
know,
No.
honestly, I read that, and my chin hit
Always
the
been.
table when I read that. Anyway.
The staff had fire awareness training on the 14th of July.
But
and
not in Oundle.
There's a
I
shocker
think
that
Phil
one.
Norman used to put a bucket of water down.
He did.
And
He did.
Right.
But that's all.
Thank you.
Good, thanks.
Thank you, Emma, for the clerk's report.
Can I go back to one thing?
Yes.
You know the QVH caretaker?
Yes.
Have we sent letters to people that are not cleaning the QVH?
We haven't as yet. This was reported to me by Lisa, and I'll find out. We need to get a bit more information of when it is, if it's a regular group that are constantly, that are leaving it, or if it's one-off. So we've just got to look into it a bit more.
We'll just say that I will fall, you keep doing, which I will.
Right, 174902, to consider amending Standing Order 16 to allow the Deputy Mayor to be Chairman of the Estates Committee. You'll recall that under Standing Orders, neither Mayor nor Deputy Mayor could be head of estates. We, in fact, appointed as head of estates the current Deputy Mayor, Councillor Best, and we temporarily suspended Standing Orders while we sorted that one out. It's now before you to amend that Standing Order to allow Councillor Best, or whoever is Deputy Mayor, to be able to hold the post of Chair of Estates Committee.
I'll propose it.
Can I just ask a question?
You can ask a question, yes?
That's saying that they could, if they wanted to be. That's not that if you're the deputy mayor, you will be.
You don't have to, no.
Yeah,
It gives that
to make
option.
that clear.
Yes, it's an option that...
I propose that they could be. Full
Hang on, the
stop.
clerk is...
Do you
Sorry.
also want to take out the mayor as well? So either the deputy mayor or mayor, if they want to, can be the estate, head of estates, or do you want to leave it just take the deputy out?
I think this was just mentioning deputy in this particular instance, but I think it's a fairly standard thing that the mayor doesn't chair any of the doesn't chair either estates or planning during his term of office as mayor, that somebody else does those.
Okay.
I think has been standard. I mean, it doesn't have to be. It's entirely with you whether that's the case. But I think that's, am I right, Councillor Chesser?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
That's been the standard policy. The mayor does chair personnel, does chair finance, but they are somewhat different. The mayor does chair those, that is...
Yeah, see, we have a strange thing. If the mayor or deputy attends any meeting, they should chair it.
That is also stated, that's another standing
Yeah, I
order,
didn't
yes.
say, I thought that was what
So
my
they
understanding
could.
was.
If necessary, if there was
Just
nobody
chair
else
it, chair
suitable
it.
to do it, and the mayor's there, they could chair it anyway.
Yeah, in absentia.
Yeah, absolutely.
So at the moment, 'cause I'm just looking at the actual standing order, says the town mayor and deputy town mayor shall be voting members of the Finance and General Purpose Committee and Personnel Committee, and the town mayor, or in his absence the deputy town mayor, shall be the chairman of those committees, and one or other of both shall be members of the Estates Committee and of the Planning Committee.
Yes.
Then at the moment we have got that then neither shall chair those committees. Do we then put that, what do we have, do we put that the mayor shall not chair those committees?
No, I don't think so.
Personally, I don't think we should exclude.
No, we can't do that.
Why?
So just say, leave it, just take that
Well,
without.
look, we have an elected chair of the planning committee. If he's not about, then I think the mayor deputy, you should be able to chair it.
I think it's a good idea to leave it completely flexible,
Yes.
so that the mayor can chair them, because we're in a situation at the moment where we've got people who are able to chair these other committees. It might be at some stage in the future where we've got a committee, a full council, but nobody either wants to or is able to chair those
Absolutely,
committees.
that's
So it
right.
might be as well to leave it flexible, that the
Yeah.
mayor and deputy mayor could both, are both eligible to
So
chair it.
we leave it as normal, and then,
Well-
and as we come to the States Management Committee and of the Planning Committee, but then take out, but neither shall chair those committees.
Yeah,
So we just
take
leave
those
it
words.
I think that's okay.
Do
I mean,
I
the
have
point
a
is,
proposal?
not the well, look, in the time I've been, when David's not been able to chair, when I've been, I've actually been head of planning, but when he's not been able to do it, I've done it. It doesn't, I think, one of the things about this is you don't want to have a massive great call on the mayor to have to turn up to meetings which he maybe not be needed at.
I think we're not actually talking in this case about a one-off
No, we're not
standing
talking.
in
It's
situation.
about electing.
We're talking
Yeah.
about electing that person as the chairman of that.
Of that committee, as well as being
Okay,
mayor or
yeah,
deputy.
okay, I
There's a
get that.
difference.
Yeah, okay, I agree.
That's where we're at.
Yeah, yeah.
Do I have a proposer for that?
Well, I'll propose it, yeah.
Councillor Peel has proposed, Councillor Oates has
I
seconded.
know. Yeah,
Those in favour?
no problem with that.
Unanimous.
Can I vote it? I don't know.
Yes, you can.
Expecting himself in.
You're going to be chairing planning, councillor. That'll be fun.
Right.
Right. To approve the standing orders is 174903. You've got them in your pack. You can see the amendments that have been made. I don't know whether we need to go through in any depth or whether you've all had a
We
good
went through
chance.
this the other week.
We did. We have to do that. We have to go through them at one meeting and then,
Table them for the next.
yeah, and table them for the next, where they're then approved.
In that case, then can I propose we approve them, because we've already gone through them?
Councillor Peel is proposing. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Councillor Oates S. Those in favour?
Amen.
Yeah.
Right, standing orders approved. To review the current dog control orders approved by East Northants Council. Again, this is in your pack. Councillor Oates.
Okay. I've been in a conversation with Kieran, who is our dog person these days. It all looks pretty straightforward to me. It's a revision is coming up in October. I will keep council informed of what the changes might be made. I don't know what they are at the moment. The only issue I've really got, in particular, relating to Andal, is the wreck.
Right.
Now, that's an interesting one, because theoretically, according to the control order, the whole of the wreck is a dog exclusion zone. But I don't think that was ever necessarily really intended.
Well, we seem to
I
have...
think it was more to do with the children's play area,
Yeah,
which was built there. And I've asked for some clarification on that.
right.
And I said, look, what's the point in having a dog exclusion area and you go and stick 2 dog wins in it?
Yeah. The clerk is asking to come in on this.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry.
We have, what Kieran asked me is that we have to go back and say, look at all of our exclusion orders that we've got and dogs on leave, and give reasons as to why we still want them before they make the decisions.
When you say why we'll still want them,
Well, he wants to know, do we still want them? Can some of these go back to 2009? And we've got to say, yes, we do, because it's in need, like the children's play area.
Yeah, definitely.
But the way I read it specifies only the play areas.
no, it doesn't. No, the original one doesn't.
Oh, sorry. So these
no,
are
no.
the amended ones.
No. Look. Basically, it doesn't.
But these are our originals.
The original
This
ones
is
go back
actually
some
play
time, and effectively they actually exclude dogs from the whole of the recreation
That's what
area.
we're saying.
Is it dogs on leads on other areas and then excluded?
Well,
from the play
oh
area?
crikey, you could go mad over this.
There are two categories here, aren't there? There are two sections.
I just sought.
With dogs on leads as well.
Can I just say, I'm very happy for the clerk to deal with this, via Kieran. The main reason that I'm interested is because A, I have a dog, and B, I know a little bit about the history of dogs in the rec.
Right.
So that's it. But if Emma, you wish to, pursue it with Kieran, I'd be very happy. All I want to do is just clarify it, not,
Okay. Councillor Peel.
I think one thing I would say is that obviously the land to which the order relates in both dogs and dogs on leads doesn't include new areas. Like, for instance, there's nothing about Wakefield Close, and that's got a very big play area for
Well,
children,
it should have one,
and it's not on there.
So it
You know
needs
what?
updating.
You're
I think.
absolutely right.
yeah. It's,
Can we then make a proposition that the clerk, we feed information, all of us, to the clerk to update this? The clerk will need information from all of us to update this, and then we send our reply back in due course, in
Yeah, we
due
want-
time to
Wants
the.
it fairly quickly.
Yeah.
That's when he came back to me and said,
Right. I'll prepare to propose that. Do I have a second?
Oh, definitely.
Councillor Oates N.
And may I say, Clark, I'm very happy to help you with this,
okay, thank you.
because I've been round this block a few times.
Right. Okay. That moves us on then to 1750. Financial matters 1750-01 to approve the bank reconciliation, bank balance sheet and budget report for June 2017. I'll hand over to Councillor Glenn.
Okay, you should all have the bank reconciliation in your pack, which seeks to balance. The only question I have is about the unrepresented transfers from the 30th of January. Why there's 102,000? What that represents, it looks to me as if they haven't been put on the system yet.
Are you talking about the unreconciled bank transaction?
Yes. It's
Michael,
actually, it says
frankly-
unpresented transfers.
Frankly, I just couldn't believe it when it came out in the pack. It doesn't tell you anything.
Basically,
Well, it does refer to this figure of the bank in the reconciliation, although it's unreconciled, which are unpresented transfers. Well,
can I explain what they are?
yeah.
Ooh,
It's our reserve account. We
Yes.
automatically have the current account. If it has more than £10,000 in, the bank automatically takes the surplus and puts it into the reserve
So
account.
it's washed into the...
Because it was in the
I
days when
understand
we
that,
had...
but you've got a 28th April balance, and then you've got unpresented transfers
Yes.
up to 30th
We only
of
get, at the
January.
moment, we only get a bank statement every quarter.
what?
But
That's
I haven't
why
got
we haven't
102.
seen.
This is prior to the 30th of January, as I read this statement.
I can't see that one. Just am I looking at the
All
wrong
right,
thing?
in the reconciliation, 1210 NW reserve account. The balance as of 28th of April is 244,690.70, so I presume that's off the computer, I don't know. Less unrepresented transfers, dated the 30th of January.
I think he means June now. I think that is a spelling mistake.
All right, okay.
Hey?
But even then, why are there so many? Why hasn't it
Because
been
the bank
reconciled before?
automatically
If
transfers.
he's doing it every quarter,
No, the bank do it, we don't touch it. It's an automatic thing that the bank do. It was in the days when, in that reserve account, you had a reasonable amount of interest. So we never had huge amounts of money sitting in the current account. the minute it got to £10,000, the bank automatically put it into the reserve account. When it got below, and we'd obviously needed to pay cheques, they would then transfer money
So
the other
are
way.
you saying that we've actually spent or transferred across 102,000 between 28th of April and the 30th of June? Seems like a lot of money to me.
Well, it'd be your preset money to pay all your bills.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we spend 50 odd £1,000 a month.
All right, okay. Thanks, David. Thank you.
Can I just say, did you used to get monthly, did you used to get monthly statements?
I think on the reserve one, they've never had monthly, but we have changed that since. I've been down to that.
Okay, I was
I've
gonna-
changed all of the ways that our banks...
You can ask them to tell you.
And for our current account, we now get it weekly.
Oh, well, that's good. That's very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Did you want to go through the balance sheet and the budget report, Councillor Blaine?
Yeah, okay. What's my place now? There.
There's nothing in the balance sheet.
Well, the balance sheet's quite straightforward. Whereas before the finance committee, the P&L account didn't match. It does. So I don't think anybody's got any comments on that. It's just, it all seems to be sensible to me.
Right.
It is based on a P&L account, which I have got some questions. And I brought these up last time about the budgets for the finance report, and Emma has kindly given us an explanation of how the budgets are derived. Having said that, I did last time at the finance meeting, for those who weren't here. If you look at the budgets for something like Fletton House, the actual expenses are way less than the budget for this period, and way less for over the year to date. Same with office costs, the hub, courthouse over the period to date, Helen Hub car park, St Ossois car park, so I don't know how to pronounce that. But they're all quite a long way out in percentage terms, and I don't think the explanation you've given us really covers that, or it's not clear.
That's
And
the
I think
only
you should be,
explanation.
explaining each of these at a time, one at a time, why this budget is so.
So we haven't received the income. We haven't.
I think you have to be specific about each budget. Well, this isn't income, is it? It's Fletton House, 18,000 actual expenditure, 25,000 budget. Well, what is missing from the Fletton House budget that we haven't yet paid?
It may be that we've paid it, but it just hasn't. They haven't actually cashed the cheque because we do everything in cheques. We're reliant on people receiving a cheque, actually going to the bank and
So
paying it in, and then it being
if
cleared.
we don't know what we're spending compared with budget, how
Sorry?
are we supposed to comment on it?
Well, this is as near as we can get it.
Well, for example then, the hub, £8,000 worth of expenditure compared with a budget of 24,000, 25,000, and that's not unrepresented cheques. And I'd like to know specifically why that budget's so different.
If you'd have asked for that.
Well, I've just seen it, so I did ask.
If you'd have, no,
I
you
did
asked. I gave you the explanation.
Okay, I'm not
Following-
taking you, but I did ask, and you have given me an explanation. All I'm saying is it's not detailed enough.
If you'd have come back and asked for it more detail, I may have had a chance to have done it. I
know.
can't do it.
I know, I only got 2 days ago, same as everybody else.
You only asked on Friday afternoon.
Yes, I know. No, I appreciate you coming back with what you have. I'm just saying, in future, can we have a line-by-line explanation, at least for the finance committee? I'll also make the point again that we brought up last time at the finance meeting that the hub appears to be taking more money than budget, and the costs are much less than budget. So on superficially it's making money, but actually it's not, as Councillor Sparks explained next probably.
Part of the hub costs appear as salaries, staff salaries, and that's a major part in a service industry. That is a major part of your costs, is the cost of your staff. So they appear in the 0 hours people and the team leaders appear in the staff gross salary for the period, and all the other costs appear as the hub. So, but we're coming on to a hub trading account later where that's made clearer. We'll move on to that one later. I think the only comment I would have is, I think we've got, in the incomes now, we've got something called property income, which is combining a number of properties. I think it would be better to go back to having the courthouse and the others shown separately in these. I can understand. I can understand why you're trying to cut down the number of columns so it's simpler to read. I can understand that entirely. And they've just done exactly the same thing as that at the meeting I was at the weekend. There's a board meeting there where they're trying to get for the board to see a much shortened income and expenditure account. But I think for the purposes, certainly for Finance Committee, we really need to expand that so that we've got all the items there that we can look at. But that would be my only comment on that.
Can I just make a comment
Yep.
on from that?
Yes?
I mean, certainly at the moment, because we've now fine-tuned all the charges for the room hire and all our other tenancies, it would be really useful to have the detail, because then we could compare now with how it used to be when we were literally guessing what to charge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions on the bank reconciliation, balance sheet or the budget report?
Balance sheet, I'm just, it says buildings market, and we've got 2 million quid plus on there, down to a
Yes.
few pence. I've got no idea what that relates to. What on earth does that mean?
That's your fixed assets, that's the value of your buildings.
Yeah.
No, hang on a minute, yes, but I mean, what buildings? I assume we're including Fretton in that. Is that due to the amount of expenditure we got on it? Value of the courthouse? I don't know.
This
It
is
just is a massive, great amount of money, and I'm not entirely sure I understand what it is.
This is
It's a
the
big figure.
this is the figure that's gone into the accounts as the capital value of your properties.
We've been looking at that for months, the same figure.
Well, we have, it's just I haven't really sort of tweaked.
It's all the buildings.
Whether- Are you trying to lecture me in accountancy?
Can we?
No, all I'm saying is it's an extraordinarily huge figure, and I don't really know whether it's auditable. In other words, does it actually stand up to scrutiny?
Well, it has been audited presumably in the last lot of figures.
Okay,
They
well,
were the figures that.
But I take the point. I mean, I don't know how it's derived.
No.
So,
that's my
Yeah.
general point.
It's got
You know,
market values.
You can
Yeah, the
easily,
value.
you can easily inflate past things, so you can pull numbers out of
there's
the
I've got a
atmosphere.
query about how the asbestos bill went into the capital account.
Well,
Should be added to the value of the
well,
bill, I thought.
look, extremely good point. The other issue, of course, is that we're looking at the town hall now. You know, that's another, what's that worth? Anyway, I'll leave that for the moment. I'm just interested in it. Okay.
We move on to the next item. If nobody's got anything else on any of those items, do we approve the bank reconciliation, balance sheet and budget report? Do we have a proposer
I'll
to
propose it.
a seconder? Councillor Peel, those in favour? Thank you. Move on to 175002 payments for June. Councillor Glenn.
Well, you've got the list in front of you. I have been through this with Emma, and we did refine our procedures on the first look.
I've given a new one out to everybody
Beg your pardon?
this evening. I've given a new one out to everybody this
Yeah, no,
evening.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it will need a few more payments on it.
Yeah,
We
everything's on
went
the
through
table.
April and May the first time round and made a number of changes and recommendations which Emma has taken on board. Thank you very much. Done a very good job. And so I've been through these. I haven't looked at all of them. I've looked at 1 in 10 maybe, and it all seems to hang together. So I've followed the paper trail back to the original invoices and so on.
I'm really worried about soup for the home.
Sorry?
I'm worried about soup for the home.
It sells very well, doesn't it?
What's the problem with soup for the
It
whole?
Oh
sells
dear,
very,
I'm
it
just
sells
being-
very well.
It's being facetious.
It
I'm
is.
being very facetious.
Right, okay. We'll,
The only thing I did ask Emma to produce, which she hasn't had time to do yet, and we hope for the next time, is an aged debtor and aged creditor account to go with this. So we can actually check that these match the aged accounts, and we can also see if we owe money that's well overdue and comment on it. So hopefully the next meeting Emma will produce
With
this.
any luck, that list will get shorter and shorter.
yes. So, do we have a proposer? Is Councillor Glenn proposing that the schedule of payments for June be paid?
Yeah.
Does he have a seconder? Councillor Oakes, N. Those in favour? We move on to 1750.
Oh, yes, I put my hand up.
1750-03 to receive the minutes from the Finance and General Purposes and Personnel Committee meeting. It was a joint meeting of the two held on the 11th of July. The minutes are in the pack. Unless anybody wants particularly to go through any particular points in those minutes.
No, I think everything there was accepted, wasn't it?
I'm happy to propose them if we have to propose them.
We're just receiving them.
So we're just receiving them into this meeting.
Oh, yeah,
They'll be
okay.
agreed at the next
Yeah, I'm going to
Finance
say, if we
and
have to propose
Personnel
them,
meeting.
I'm happy to receive them.
Right.
Yeah, we got the wording correct on 1715 as well.
Right. Okay. 1750-04 to agree to produce a monthly hub trading account. I've put one in. The clerk provided some figures for me last week showing the income and expenditure up to that point in time. And I turned that into the layout for a trading account, where at the beginning of it you've got the sales. We've had no catering sales in terms of any sort of contract catering. We've got cash receipts and card receipts in the hub, total sales totaled net of VAT, this is total 20,492.87. You've then got the purchases. Purchases work out at about just over 7,000. They're working out over a third of the sales, which will give you your margin. And the staffing costs at that point were £15,213, which meant with those items alone on direct trading, just your purchases and your staff, you're making a loss of just over £2,000 on that quarter. Then you take into account the hub direct costs, and you can see there's another £3,000, nearly £4,000 there, £3,819 there of other costs. I think the only thing I can see that's missing from that list is the EPOS back office. That's £30 a month, so there would be another £90 to go on to those costs, direct costs. And the one thing that's missing from there that we need to be aware of is the Fletton House overheads. The hub's pro rata share of the overheads for the building need to be charged to the trading account as well. So that would, of course, make the loss a bit larger.
This is a quarterly figure, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, this was quarterly, yeah. So what I'd like to see is to get these monthly, if we can get these figures, get a running total to date, as it were, so each month we get the year to date, showing how we're performing.
and the actual costs.
Well, you have to make an estimate of the, whatever you,
Flat
attribute
house,
of
yeah.
flat house,
Yeah.
overhouse, yeah.
Can I mean, just on a small point, it's not to save a lot of money, but the credit card charges are really high for 6,000 on a quarter.
Sorry, the
Not
credit
charge,
card,
it's sales.
that's credit card
The
sales,
credit
six,
card charge is £122
That's
per
I think
quarter.
was, yeah.
yes, yes, they are the charges imposed on using credit and debit cards, yeah.
Well, I would actually go back and try and renegotiate that, because that's very high for £6,000 a quarter.
Mm. The trouble is we're talking very small transactions.
Yeah, but it should still only be
I forget which way around they
should
are.
only be less than 0.95. It should be any more than 0.95, should it really?
0.951.
Of a percent of the total.
Yeah,
That's on-
there's
plus-
a fixed cost per transaction
plus-
as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's on one type of card. On the other card, you have a charge of a fixed charge per use.
Yeah, 15p.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
That's on a
you're
debit card.
yeah, if you're selling one slice of cake or one cup of coffee, and they pay by card, you've got a 15p charge on a £2.20 cup of coffee or
No,
something.
I understand that. It's just that to me that seems to be a bit
That's,
high.
say, over a quarter, if you break it down,
Yeah.
it's just over £10 a week,
Yeah, it's still £43 a month.
which
Mm.
the number of small
Well,
transactions they have.
I think we need to look at the data and number of transactions.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's,
Yes.
yeah, we need to have a look at it.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, I only
Yeah.
pay £60 a month for 250,000 a month.
But you're probably having less transactions that are much more expensive.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it does seem...
Yeah. You sell a £5,000 carpet and it's still only 15p for
Still,
use of their debit card.
I take your point. I just think it could be reduced down.
Yeah, we'll certainly look into it. One of the things I'm looking at next, as we're gradually crunching our way through all the information on that point of sale system down there, the next thing I'm looking at is how many actual customers we have and what the average spend per customer is. That's one of the next things I've got to look at.
Can I just, that's
Yeah,
one
carry
thing. There's no costing for clothing. Don't we give clothing for the...
No,
That's because we haven't spent anything on
we
it.
don't. Yeah, we don't give them. They don't have a uniform.
Oh, right.
There's no uniform. We've got aprons, which we bought, and they're still using the same aprons.
Right.
We haven't worn them out yet.
No, they look perfectly all right.
Yeah. So until we need some more of something like that, we probably won't have a clothing cost.
Okay.
Flowers, we've been getting flowers up to now, flowers on all the tables, we've been getting them free in return for the lady from Erismore Flowers putting her name, a little ticket, a little label on each vase of flowers to say these were provided courtesy of Erismore Flowers. In return for that advertising, she's provided us with free flowers. But I believe
She's given up her business through ill health, so she's just concentrating on weddings and functions from where she lives in Wellingborough.
Yeah.
I think it's Wellingborough.
So we may in future get charged for flowers if we have to buy them from another source. But anyway, that's the trading account, and what I'm suggesting here is that I would like to see this produced monthly, so that we've got figures to look at monthly, so that we keep on top of how the hub is performing. Are you in agreement with that? Do I have a seconder?
No,
So I'm proposing it. Councillor Chesser is seconding. Those in favour? Thank you. That's everybody. Likewise, 175005 to produce monthly room occupancy reports for Fletton House and the Courthouse. One, we're letting rooms by the hour or parts of a day. The other one where we've got leases, the Courthouse is leases. But on both of them now, we're looking at how income from letting the rooms compares with our expenditure. And in the courthouse, now that we've got pretty well full occupancy, we're doing very well, and we're in the black. Down there, we've got more money coming in than we spend.
Have we got expenditure for each room in the courthouse?
We can get it from the accounts. We haven't had it produced as yet, but we can get it from the accounts. So we need to update that. We need to create that again as a regular monthly report, showing where we are to date, each year to date, on a monthly basis.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask
Yeah.
why, I mean, I can understand Fletton House.
Yes.
Why do we need it on the courthouse when they've basically got leases for 3 to 5 years? I would have thought every 6 months or every 12 months would be enough, unless we have massive bills coming in on that.
They all pay at different times. They're all on different schemes for payment, and some of them are on fairly short-term leases. There's a couple of them that have got a year's trial, as it were, and they've got a clause in there, a break clause, that says they can then pull out after a year, and not have to honour the other 2 years of the lease. So I think it's certainly, I agree, maybe monthly is too often, but the money doesn't come in at a uniform rate. Some are paying monthly, some are paying quarterly. I think there's a couple paying half yearly.
I think some pay annually as well, do they?
I think they do. I think I think Chat pay annually, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
They're all different. So we need to be looking on a regular basis to see
What monies are coming in?
what's come in and where we are.
Right.
Do you want me to just fill you in on the history?
No,
Tiny
no,
little bit.
I understand.
Okay.
I understand where you're coming from, because I know about chat and things like that, paying yearly. It's just like, I just thought, well, with all the other things we have to do, I would have thought the courthouse takes care of itself.
Well, I don't know why we need to look at expenditure for each room in the courthouse. It's the courthouse as a whole, I thought. So I don't know if we need to go to that detail.
Well, I certainly want to go to that detail, because we need to know what those rooms are costing us.
But we should do that when we set up the leases, shouldn't we, and decide on what price we're going to charge a tenant. Anyway, if you want to do it that way, I want to.
To be honest, I can't see the point in not doing it if it's needed, but I just can't see the point in doing it otherwise. As you said, when we set the leases up, that should all be taken into consideration.
Once this is set up as a report in Sage, it's a case of press a button and it produces it. So it costs nothing to produce that report.
All I'm thinking of is obviously is the time factor.
The time factor is in the setting up the report in the first place.
And reviewing it.
Yeah, you can have you can have those reports as often as you want after that.
No, that's fine, sir. Carry on.
And then, if everybody's in agreement with that,
Yep.
do I have a proposer, seconder? Yep. In favour?
So you propose that?
Councillor Glenn proposed, Councillor Peel seconded it. 1750-06 is a request to ask all committee and working group heads to assess the financial requirements for the next financial year for their department, and to advise the head of finance and the mayor by September of what they intend to spend next year, so that we can include this in the budgets.
It's easy, just another 50%.
Okay, this is just a request to all heads of departments. Yep. But we then come on to 1751 planning matters. To receive the minutes from the planning committee held on the 4th of July 2017. In the absence of the head of planning, whether the deputy head of planning's got any comments?
No.
No. And the report is there, and it's pretty self-explanatory, so we'll take that one as read. 175102, to receive an update on the neighbourhood plan and to report on the proposals for the way forward. We've got this, I've put in here a neighbourhood plan report, which is in your pack. Basically, we've reached the stage now where the working group that was working on it for 15 months, they've now finished their work. That's come to an end. They've handed the plan over to us. We approved the plan at full council in June, at an extraordinary council meeting in June. It's also been to NPS, which is the Neighbourhood Plan Independent Examiner reporting service. They've now come back with a report which has been circulated to all councillors. We're reasonably happy with that. There's nothing major in there to say that there's anything seriously wrong with the plan. A lot of the things they're recommending are fairly cosmetic or fairly low level. I think 3 of the things that they're suggesting where we need to make changes, the district council, it's part of their remit and they're looking at those and reporting back to us. We've got James Wilson, the consultant on the neighbourhood plan, looking at improving some of the others, and we don't really see any major problems. At the same time as they did the neighbourhood plan, they also looked at the design statement, NPS, looked at the design statement, which has yet to come to full council. So at one of the future meetings of neighbourhood plan, we need to bring that to the meeting and to go through that in detail and decide whether we approve that design statement. So that's one of the next steps. Once all of that is done, the next thing is to present the plan to the town, and we've already talked, marketing have already talked about how they're going to present this to the town. The other thing is we have got a small group of councillors keen to assist the clerk and myself in talking to the developers to make sure that they're still happy with the proposals they've made, they're still honouring the commitments they've made to us, and that they are happy to present this neighbourhood plan to the town alongside us. So those are the next stages really of the neighbourhood plan. It's all there in that report, and the suggestion is that we've done the last 2 meetings through a full council meeting immediately before planning. The proposal is that that is the way to do it, because all councillors then are able to attend that and to give their opinion on it. So that's what we're putting to you. Do you have any comments on that report, on anything in that report?
Mr. Mayor, I have to say I haven't had
No,
time to
I've
read
not
it.
had time to
Right.
But as I understand it, we're actually discussing this on the 1st of August.
That's right, yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I will have read it by then and I can make comments then if that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just telling you what
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying.
I mean, the main thing here is that you're happy with the fact that we're doing this through a separate full council,
Oh, yeah, no, I accept
with
that.
just one item on the agenda each time, and that will be neighbourhood plan.
Yeah,
That's
I accept that.
There may be one other item on the next one. It'll be I hope a quick 5 minutes item, will be to approve the Oracle, because there's no other meeting next month for us to approve Oracle for publication. But apart from that, these will be dedicated to neighbourhood plan. And yes, as you say, we're going through the NPS report. It's on the agenda for that meeting to go through the NPS report. And at a future
Sorry, I
one.
haven't had time to read it tonight.
Yeah.
I'll have read it by the 1st of August.
Okay, that's fine. As long as everybody's happy with the principle of what we've got down there, that this is the way forward.
Yeah.
I'm prepared to propose that report. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second. Yeah.
Seconded by Councillor Best. Those in favour?
Fine.
Unanimous. Thank you very much.
That's a bit much, you know.
Right, so that takes us on to receive. There's nothing to do apart from to receive it into your pack tonight. We're going through it, as Councillor Peel has said, at the next meeting. 175103 is to receive the draft Neighbourhood Plan NPS report. And we'll go through that in detail on the 1st of August. That brings us to 1752, which is Estates Matters. I'll hand over to Councillor Best as Head of Estates. If there's anything you want to highlight there.
Just a quick minute on Snipe Meadow. Johnny Mack's done the urgent repairs. He's also quoted us for completing all the other repairs, and it's a little over 3,000. So that looks like the follow. Sorry.
Oh, it is hand off.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, and alongside that, we'd had the professional boardwalk people secure field quote to replace it, and it was just a shade under 50,000. So I don't think we'll be going there.
I said 30 earlier.
Yeah, we also, it was also pointed out, probably people use it the most at the Angus Club, and I know I need to talk to the President of the Club, but we need to ask them if they're prepared to contribute a small amount to
I
annual
think so,
maintenance.
absolutely.
The only other things were,
Can I just come in on that one? Because we've had in an earlier meeting tonight where we were meeting with our neighbouring councillors, and our county councillor Heather Smith was here, head of the county council, was saying that she is also on another committee looking at grant funding, especially this organisation out at Kingscliff, this waste Augean, is it? Yeah, and saying that ordinarily they are swamped by requests for grants. She's finding a lot of the ones they're getting are for the other side of Peterborough, and she's saying we don't want to be doing this, we want this money going locally, and was saying to Emma and myself earlier, if you want any money for anything like that, get your bid in quick. And we said straight away Snipe Meadow, so it might be that up to 50 grand we may be able to get some funding.
well, if we could get them to cover the repair costs and something for the maintenance, at least for next year, that'd be great. Yeah. Okay, cool, thanks.
So if
Something for the 10 year.
Well, no, we looked at funding when we were talking about replacing it. I guess I've assumed that now we're repairing it, that might not be so appropriate, but I don't see why it shouldn't be. So, yeah. Okay, good.
but there's money there, so we need to.
Oh, there's money there, yes, we do, indeed.
The clerk will follow that one up and find out. Apparently, there's a very simple process of filling in the forms. It gets complicated later on when you've got to justify why you want what you want, but early on it's a simple process to get approval. So,
How much did you say the quote was for the
Just
full
over
repair?
£3,000 for full repair. And then, you know, annual maintenance, it's like to be £200 or £300.
Can I ask, with this grant money, just as a side issue, what about the building at the rugby club then? Can we ask them for a grant for that?
possibly we can, something towards it.
If it's only a simple form to fill in, it might be worth just filling it in.
It'll be worth chancing it, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we can
I'd
say,
like to have a look to see if it covers, if it's criteria, because it tends to be for like community use things, which is where we thought Snipe Meadow Boardwalk, whereas a building like that wouldn't be a community use.
You could make it, sorry I've interrupted now, because in a way we're taking on more grounds maintenance, aren't we? And that's so keeping the verdicts and things.
And to
You know, you could probably work some kind of justification out.
Councillor Humphrey's idea, which was to have a little workshop adjoining the main workshop of the grounds people, which is like a community workshop. If something like that were to be done, that would make it more. Anyway,
Yeah.
there are a lot of tunes we can play.
let's see if we can get some money.
That's positive.
Yes, it's well worth putting in our bid for our share of it.
Listen, if you don't ask, you don't get it.
Because if we don't bid for it, it's ending up the other side of Peterborough.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And we don't want the other side of Peterborough.
no, we want our community to
Exactly.
make the best of this. So we're here to serve our community, so let's try and get grants for our community. But yes, that's a good suggestion that we do that, and if we didn't have to have such a big public works loan board, loan for that building or need one at all, that would be great.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
That would help, wouldn't it?
So,
You'll also be pleased to hear we approved a quote to replace the bunting. Hooray! We talked about the Fletton House extension. Now, since then, Hanukkah has had a chat with the lady who runs the dance class and some of the parents, and they have some practical issues with what we propose. So that's not as straightforward as we thought, and neither is it necessarily going to deliver the benefits we anticipated. So we need to come back and look at that again, because if it's not going to solve everybody's problems, and we know the school 3 years down the road will have their marvellous sports centre with its dance studios, we need to think very carefully before we spend the money. We could be spending money on something here that A, doesn't solve everybody's problems, and B, in 3 years will be possibly redundant. So we need to go through the loop again on the justification on that and the layout of the whole concept. Maintenance workshop, I got some quotes from a couple of building providers. They were very different. I'm working through with the differences to try and come up with a like-for-like comparison, and then also get some costing on the groundworks. But in terms of the original budget we talked about, it's still sounding a feasible alternative to paying the rent on the one you'll be pleased to hear, Peter.
Well, yeah, I will be, because I plan to start buying all those units anyway. I don't want to charge the council extortionate rent.
It's very reasonable.
Yeah, you pay rates, don't we? Do. So that's good.
No, rent, sorry.
And rates.
Well, the rates you pay yourself.
Okay, unless anybody's got any questions, main points.
lovely. Thanks, Councillor Best. The next item, 1753, correspondence for action. 1753-01, to consider consultation from Northamptonshire County Council on Northamptonshire Fire and Rescue Service.
Yeah, this was touched on actually earlier. I have emailed these all to you, so you can go on yourself and have a look at the consultation, put your comments in. Or I don't know whether you normally do this as a full council as well. Do you normally go through these consultations? It's very difficult now because they're all online. I think it's the only way to do it is that you can individually go and put your comments down there.
I
Right.
think I'll ask you when you do it, whether you're a councillor or not. That's about as far as it goes.
Yeah, I mean the fire and rescue one is just about how the services are going to be sort of sharing vehicles, sharing premises. So,
Right, so I think it's a case of everybody have a look online and add your comments as appropriate.
Your own thing, yeah.
1753-02, to consider the commissioning Health Watch Northamptonshire 2018 to 2021 consultation from Engagement Team Public Health.
same as before.
So
really.
unlike
Same as
Yeah.
before. And 1753-03, to consider commissioning support for voluntary and community sector 2018 to 21 consultation engagement team public health.
Right.
Same again.
Yeah.
Just before I go around the room with whether anybody's got any other business, we're in very good time tonight. We've done extremely well. One thing I didn't mention under the neighbourhood plan, taking our plan forward, I received, which you were handed at the start of the meeting, you were given some paperwork on the Glapthorne neighbourhood plan. I'll just point out that this came through my door this morning as a resident of the parish. The important thing is in the letter from Alan Barnish, who is the clerk to the neighbourhood plan group. Item 2, housing sites in Glapthorne parish which are on the Oundle boundary is the most relevant to us. None of the 4 sites on the Oundle boundary received significant support. Furthermore, we have received confirmation from Oundle Town Council that its housing requirement can be met from sites allocated in its own draft plan. Therefore, none of the 4 sites proposed will be carried forward in the Glapthorne plan. So the problems we thought may have arisen at the last neighbourhood plan meeting. They have now said, following our response to them from that meeting, they are not any longer pursuing housing immediately outside our boundary on any of those 4 sites. However, they also go on to say in the document itself, on page 3 of the document, sites proposed in the wider parish, having considered those in the village envelope, none in capital letters of these sites meet the criteria for inclusion in the neighbourhood plan. So again, they reinforce it there to say, and they are showing there, the little sites marked A2 and A6 are part of what we were discussing at our last neighbourhood plan meeting, where they were wanting to sneak 30 houses on the other side of the boundary from us. The only thing that might be of interest to us, and I need to look at this closer, on the 4th page, the proposed new settlement boundary, in brackets village envelope, it looks as though they are moving the village envelope from where the, I don't think you've got a coloured plan, but it shows a red line on the original document, around closely, tightly around the village. It then shows 2 shaded grey areas heading south towards Oundle, and it looks as though it's encroaching into, I'm not sure if that is Mr. Ian Davidson's back garden, which is massive, I know, but I didn't think it was that massive, or whether that is the first of the fields between Oundle and Glapthorne. We need to look at that in case there's a bit of encroachment there towards us. But those are the only points that I've got additional. I'll go around the room. Councillor Oaksend? No. Councillor Oakshess? Councillor Best?
Nothing.
Councillor Jessup? Nothing. Nothing from Councillor
No,
Peel?
no.
Nothing from Councillor Peel. With that, at 8:47,
Wow.
almost a record, I close the full council.